Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to the Head Show. A story is written by a current prisoner. You guys already know, man. I am your favorite journalist, Tony, giving you an inside dive, an inside perspective, a diving into the minds of California's criminals, California's lifers, people who have been convicted of the most craziest crimes are here on Stories Written by a Current Prisoner, sharing their life stories, sharing their testimonies of how they fell into that path and how ultimately they picked up a life sentence. You guys know your boy right here. He's part of the homicide division. Your boy Tony, man. That's what I specialize in, ladies and gentlemen. If you can appreciate that, man, please hit that subscribe button. Before we continue any further, this has been created by me and Mr. Big Fan by Fresno. Let me go ahead and read this card to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a Christmas card. You can use this for a Christmas card. However, I strongly encourage you, man, to give this to someone who's maybe perhaps falling into addiction, someone who's perhaps is known to experiment with drugs, someone who's perhaps has beaten addiction. And this is just somewhat of a reminder on the wall to tell you know what? Fight temptation, not to fall into temptation, to stay strong and to stay away from drugs, man, because drugs are ruining lives at an alarming rate right now. I'm telling you right now, man, me, myself, man, I'm not going to lie, man, I had my own history, man. I fell into addiction a while back, man, around 2011, 2012, 2013. That's when the glass pandemic was at 100%. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, me personally, haven't been an ex-addict who've done a variety of things. Let me tell you, man, I've pretty much done anything underneath the sun, and I'm not proud enough to say it. But there isn't a single person on this world that can get me to do any type of drug or shove anything up my nose or in my arm as of today. And I'll tell you why. Because of fentanyl. Fentanyl is knocking people down at an alarming rate, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, people in high school, people in middle schools, adults, people who have been addicts their entire lives are literally dropping to that drug. They're starting to cut up any type of drug, whether it's coke, whether it's this, whether it's glass, whether it's this. A lot of drugs nowadays have fentanyl, man. So there's not a single person on this world that can get me to do that, man, because I'm not trying to overdose on stuff like that. So let me go ahead and read this card to you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay strong, man. Stay strong. No hope with dope. Drugs are lame. You only have yourself to blame. Say no. Wow, I love that quote, man. No hope with dope. Drugs are lame. You only have yourself to blame. Say no to drugs, ladies and gentlemen. These are available for $9.99. Please send me a message through that number I posted up right here. The message is right there. If you want to get in direct contact with me, if you want to send me a message, if you want to tell me something, if you want to do whatever, that number is right there for you guys to contact me. Also, if you want to send me an email at mrtonyjournalist@gmail.com. You know what I'm saying? My phone number is right there, and there's my email. If you want to go ahead and contact me, these are running a $9.99 shit. As I stated, ladies and gentlemen, you can use it as a Christmas card, but, you know, I give this to anybody, a friend, a brother, whatever. Even for yourself, man. Fight temptation. Drugs are for losers. Let's roll. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Stories Written by a Current Person, giving you an inside dive, an inside perspective, inside of the minds of California's criminals, California's lifer. Today on the phone we have Spanky, Mr. Robert Glenn. Happy holidays, Spanky, brother. How are you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Happy holidays. I'm doing pretty good, you know, surviving another day, you know.
Man, as always, man, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, Spanky, man.
Yeah,
you just enlightened me a little earlier that some disturbing news, in fact, that they're actually starting to kick people on SNY who are participating in criminal activity or gang activity, that they're actually starting to send these individuals to general population yard?
Yeah. So basically what it is it's see, they tried to do this to me. Every time I go back to shoot, they try to hit me with program failure or, you know, something like that, where if I come out to, and that's basically what they're saying, that if they release me to an SNY, you know, they have a job, they have a duty to keep people safe. So if they label me as predatory behavior or propensity for violence, that I'm coming out here to the SNYs and I'm preying on inmates with sex offenses, they never really had anything as far as like in their policy on what to do with an inmate like me, right? Because I was labeled SNY, so, you know, because of the whole gang thing. Well, so what they did now, also what they've been struggling with is the STGs, security threat groups, all these PC gang members. There's probably about 4 or 5 of them in CDC, the 2-5 prison gang, PC prison gang, the IRs, independent riders, the NR, Northern Riders, stuff like that. So basically what they did now, on the 16th of December, they just came out with a new memo. They've been talking about it for the last year, but everybody was kind of like thinking they're not going to be able to do that. They can't throw SNYs to a yard with GP inmates. Well, now they can. So this is the new memo they just put out on the 16th of December, a couple of days ago. And this is from Gavin Newsom, the governor. So here's what it says. Sensitive needs yards and non-designated program facilities, December 2022. An overview. CDC is charged with providing a safe and secure environment for everyone who lives, works, and visits institutions. Furthermore, the rehabilitation of individuals entrusted to the department's care is also a top priority. CDCR offers a behavior-based housing model that focuses on providing the most programming opportunities for incarcerated people in the least restrictive setting, while still maintaining safety and security of our institutions and communities. In November 2022, CDCR codified into regulations sensitive needs yards and non-designated programming facilities. SNY is a designation for incarcerated people who have safety concerns regarding living on a general population yard, while NDPFs house people together regardless of their GP or SNY status to afford incarcerated people greater access to rehabilitative programs. Assignment to these facilities is made only after careful review of each individual's case factors, potential safety concerns, and housing rehabilitation needs to ensure people can safely program together. While these programs have been in place for some time, the department has now placed them into regulations to provide consistent requirements for both programs. CDCR believes individuals are responsible for their own conduct and that all should meet behavior expectations in prison, just like they will in communities once released. It is the expectation that all will program together and comply with housing expectations. Why was sensitive needs yards added to CDCR regulations? CDCR previous SNY designation policy was directed through a policy memorandum. It did not require custody staff to evaluate and verify if an incarcerated person requesting SNY designation had safety concerns. This prior direction led to a gradual increase in the SNY population and a rise in violent incidents within this population, including the inception of SNY, security threat groups, and illicit activity. The codification of SNY regulations provides CDCR with uniform criteria to verify systemic safety concerns prior to an individual being granted SNY designation. The SNY regulations benefit the SNY designated population by providing uniform criteria to deny or remove SNY designation from those individuals who generally do not have systemic safety concerns. What requirements must an incarcerated person meet in order to have SNY designation? In order to be designated as SNY in accordance with the California Code of Regulations, an incarcerated person must meet the following criteria. The individual expresses safety concerns and requests.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The individual expresses safety concerns and requests SNY designation. The individual has specific documented and verified systemic safety concerns as defined in Section 3000. the individual does not pose a threat to the safety or security of the SNY population. If the individual is documented as a validated security threat group 1, STG1 member, as defined in Section 3000, the person fulfilled the debriefing process according to Sections 3378. What does systemic safety concerns mean, and how is it different from an individual having localized safety concerns? Section 300 defines systemic safety concerns as concerns not restricted to a specific or limited departmental facility or institution, meaning they impact housing statewide. Localized safety concerns are defined in Section 3000 as concerns restricted to a specific or limited departmental facility or institution, thereby allowing for alternative housing placement. Based on the new SNY regulations and criteria, are custody staff required to review all currently incarcerated people with SNY designation to ensure the accuracy of this designation? No. With the adoption of the SNY regulations, custody staff are not required to reevaluate all incarcerated people with SNY designation. However, an individual may request to have their SNY designation removed to an institution classification committee, or ICC may choose to remove the individual's SNY designation. In any case, a thorough evaluation.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
A thorough evaluation shall be completed and documented in a confidential inmate safety closure report prior to an ICC making a recommendation to remove the SNY designation. What is confidential? No, that's not really important. Let me see. This is one more page now. This is the last page. All right. If an incarcerated individual paroles after having been designated SNY and later returns to the jurisdiction of the CDCR, does the individual retain their SNY designation? No. Pursuant to Sections 3269, an individual returning to custody of CDCR with a prior SNY designation shall be reevaluated to determine if the individual meets SNY designation criteria. CDCR recognizes that safety concerns are fluid and may evolve or resolve. Therefore, upon an individual returning to custody, correctional staff shall assess the totality of the individual's safety concerns to determine if the individual meets SNY designation criteria as described in subsections 3269. If an incarcerated individual disagrees with either the denial or removal of their SNY designation, does the individual have a right to appeal? Yes, the individual has a right to appeal pursuant to Section 3084. Why was NDPF added to CDCR regulations? CDCR is committed to helping people return to society successfully. To reach all incarcerated people, CDCR must house them in a focused environment with programs that will help them want to be successful and grow as people, and steer them away from destructive cycles of violence, gangs, and drug abuse. NDPF is an important part of CDCR's mission. The codification of NDPF regulations provides CDCR with the authority to exclude or remove individuals engaging in violent or serious STG-related illicit behavior. So that's basically what they're saying about the STGs now. Because this is now policy, this is now codified in the language now, or the little Title 15. Now they have an actual step to remove inmates that are on SNY who are in a gang, a PC gang, or who stabs a chomo or something. Now they have the option of, or they have a choice now to go ahead and remove them from SNY and put them on a non-designated facility with GP inmates. So it's kind of a big thing now, because now, there's going to be a lot of violence now because SNYs can't program with GPs and GPs cannot program with SNYs. So they're going to have to kill each other just straight from out the gate. Someone's going to have to move on the other one, this is the last part. Can an SNY designated individual be housed in an NDPF? Yes. SNY designation is based on a set of facts and evidence that shows systemic safety concerns are present with a portion of the general population. An individual with an SNY designation shall not be housed in a general population facility. NDPF is an integrated housing model for individuals demonstrating a willingness to participate in rehabilitative programs and conform to departmental policies. That's actually not true. That's a lie. CDC's been doing this for the last couple of years. They had just been
You have 60 seconds remaining.
They've been just making inmates non-designated criteria. They've been taking inmates they started on the level 1s, they worked their way up to level 2s, now they're doing it on level 3s, and then now they're doing it on some level 4s now. So, and it's not about giving them access to programming or stuff like that. It's just as a way to try and tamp down on the violence on the SNYRs regarding the SDGs, the PC gangs. Hey, I'm going to call you back.
So based off your observation, Bobby, how is everybody interpreting this? Are they upset? Are some inmates getting riled up? Can you feel the fear in some people?
Yeah, so like I said, they've been doing this for the last couple of years. They actually did it up there. When I was up there in Pelican Bay, they had actually made the shoe level 2, I think. So they shut down D shoe and they made it all level 2, right? And so that's what they were doing. They were moving SNYs. These were all GP inmates, level 2 GP inmates. And so what they did is they brought in a few buses of SNY level 2 inmates, and they put them with those inmates, the GPs, right? They're considered non-designated. So what happened was the GP level 2s, they had a sit down. They refused to go to work. They refused to a lot of stuff. Well, so the fellas in the shoe, they got mad, right? They actually sent a message out to those GP inmates that were housed on level 2 and told them, look, we don't care if you like it or not. Like, this ain't a democracy. Like, you don't have a vote. We need you there to work because they're the ones that are sending the fellas the drugs back to the chute. You see what I'm saying? So like that's an integral part of how the drugs are getting into the prison is from inmates on level 1s, level 2s, inmates that are coming from like work release or things like that. So like they need those inmates to participate in going to work and to continue that line of illegal narcotics reaching the fellas in the back. So after they got that, they kind of went back to business as usual. But it's kind of been like this. It's always been where inmates on level 1s and level 2s, they're soft, right? They've never had a murder or a stabbing on a level 1 or level 2. These guys are going home. They're short-timers. They're not really doing life. You know what I mean? So the brothers don't really care what they're dealing with, or if they like it, or if they don't like it. But now on a level 4, now it's a completely different thing. Now they have inmates, level 4 inmates that are housed on a non-designated yard. They have explicit rules where they are absolutely not allowed to program with an SNY inmate at all. Period. If they had a thing a while back, New Folsom, and they still have it. They have some of these yards are considered 90-day yards. It's a no-good yard. Pelican Bay A yard used to be the same type of thing, where it's considered a no-good yard, and you have 90 days to get off that yard. Otherwise, you're in the hat. You'll be next to be targeted for assault or stabbing or whatever. So this is basically what it is now, where these inmates, the GP inmates who are on level 4 non-designated, they will not be allowed to program with SNY inmates, non-designated SNY inmates. If the big homies get word that an inmate, a GP inmate,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
was programming on a non-designated with SNY, that's it. He's done. They will put a hit out on him. It's not allowed. Period. So it's gonna cause a lot of drama. And I know I'm speaking from experience, where I know a lot of the PC gang members that are going to be going over there now that they've gotten rolled up for STG, Nexus, security threat group behavior. They're getting rolled up. They're putting them in a hole. They're removing their SNY status, and they're going to put them on non-designated. I know, based on my own experience, if I was put in a situation like that, what would I do? It's kill or be killed. I'm not going to sit here and wait around for those guys to strap up and to catch me slipping, to catch me where I'm by myself and I'm outnumbered. No, there's no way I would ever allow that to happen. So I'm getting off first, and that's kind of what these guys, their whole mindset is as well. All STG, they're just going to get off, period. As soon as they open up yard, they're going to go out and they're just going to stab whoever's closest. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it will never work. Believe me. And that's what CDC wants. Like I said, there's a lot of key words in that memo that they just put out. That as this is a way for them to combat the rising violence on the SNYR. So for anybody who's a program failure, like myself, who I've been program failures in the past, if something happens in the future and they try to label me as a program failure again, now they have an option now. Now they can actually remove me and put me on non-designated, and let the cards fall where they may.
Man, that's kind of scary when you think about it, Bobby, because like you said, man, as we all know, man, if that does happen, they do start sending these these 2-5ers or Northern Riders or Zapatistas or whatever you want to call them. It's not going to be pretty, man. Potentially a lot of people might lose their lives. So I personally don't see how it'll work.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing too, is where you got these inmates who are GP and they're validated sureños, they're working, their families still live in the neighborhood, so they're not just looking at it for their own safety, they're looking at it for their family's safety. So like if they get caught doing something wrong, like their family or their brother or who's incarcerated, like they will pay the price for their mistake. So they're put in that kind of situation where they don't really have a choice. You know, they will kill. You know, that's just how it is. If they're put in that type of situation, they're going to get off, and it's messed up because a lot of these guys, they have dates, and they're going to board, and they have all these law changes where they're actually being eligible to get released, and now this is just going to mess all that up. You know, now they're going to have to like catch another case, and there goes their board, and you know they're going to get more years added onto there. It's just, yeah, it's not cool. It's a messed up situation all the way around. You know.
Wow, that's something to think about, man. For those who are participating in that lifestyle, and especially if you're participating in any type of STG group, man. That's I know for a fact, man. I know people might put on this front, but I know deep down inside, man, perhaps they might be scared, man. I know if I was an SNY gang member and you get sent to the GP, man, that's a scary thought.
Guaranteed. You know, I remember back when that whole 2-5 thing first started, back in like 1999, maybe 2000, and they were kind of really big in the ad segs. And the ad segs this was all before SNY. They didn't really have too many SNYs back then in the late 90s. You know, it wasn't until like the early 2000s when that whole SNY thing took off, where everybody started debriefing from the prison gangs. But so the 2-5s, they were mainly warring with the GPs, and so it wouldn't be back and forth disrespect, because the GPs, they held themselves to a tighter program where they wouldn't be talking smack out the door. You know, they had rules against that, you know, but the 2-5ers, they didn't really have any rules, so they would just, you know, let the insults fly. You know, if a GP was walking, they would start, you know, talking smack to him, calling him a sewer rat and disrespecting the neighborhood. And, you know, in some cases they would try to like gas those guys with like feces and urine inside milk cartons. You know, so they've been battling with these GPs for decades now. So, yeah, there is no way that any 2-5er being put on a GP yard, even a non-designated GP yard, there's no way they'll be allowed to stay. They will be targeted for stabbing at like first opportunity at the very first yard. You know, that's just how it is. And they know it, and so that's why I said when they go, they're going to group up. Whoever comes on the bus, they're going to stick together. They're probably going to go packing heat, you know, and they're just going to take flight as soon as they get there, you know.
Wow, that's something to think about right there. The first batch of people who are going to be those unfortunate ones who are going to be selected, who are probably being verified as we speak. They're probably looking into their background, and as a matter of fact, they probably already have a list of individuals who they're going to experiment this on. Let's just see how this goes.
Yeah, when I was in Lancaster last year, they had already had a list of who was going. It was every single STG inmate who was on that yard was on that list, you know. So any STG was going, you know. And so I guarantee you, like these non-designated yards are full of GP inmates. So they have all the weapons. They have everything already. So for a STG, the first ones that are going to be going are all the STGs that are in ad segs right now. Any STG that's sitting in an ad seg for, you know, getting into a little melee on the yard, to Hatchby or Kern Valley, all those guys will go first. But they're going to be naked. They're going to be going on that bus in just their boxers, socks, and a T-shirt. in a little paper jumpsuit. So they're going to be taking anything they can with them. They're going to start breaking down razor blades and melting little plastic shanks and anything that they could keister to protect themselves when they hit that yard. They're going to be doing it. They're, you know. But hey,
Wow.
that's the life that they want to live, though. You know, like me, I'm different. I don't. You know, I was part of a real gang. I sure as hell ain't gonna. That's embarrassing to be part of a PC gang. You know, but those guys like me, I'm stabbing
You have 60 seconds.
offender or something like that. These dudes, these STG,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
their whole thing is just all about that gang, and that's what they got to get out of that. They got to get out of that frame of mind, man. They got to let that gang stuff go, man. That's like they didn't learn their lesson the first time, like, you know.